The Tennis Gambling Podcast on the Sports Gam Podcast Network is brought to you by Nordic Fantasy. Best Ball Mania is alive with $15 million in prizes. Sign up with the promo code SGPN to claim your special pick and a first-time deposit offer up to $250 in bonus cash on Nordic Fantasy, promo code SGPN. Welcome back, everyone, to the Tennis Gambling Podcast here on the Sports Gam Podcast Network. It is currently late Monday night, roughly 11 p.m. Eastern Time on May 13th. I'm your host, always, Scott Reichel, once again going solo for this pod. Should be a fun one because it is time to get into the round of 16 in Rome. So we're going to start off by recapping the round of 32. Then we'll get into most, not all, of the round of 16 matches. And then we'll wrap up the show with our lock and dog picks at the end. A reminder, though, don't forget to like, subscribe on YouTube. Also a reminder, don't forget to rate and review the podcast on Spotify or Apple. So regardless of how you are actually consuming the podcast, don't forget to leave some feedback to let me know how you like the show or how you don't like the show. Feedback's appreciated, so let me know there. But please leave a review. And if you're new to YouTube, hi, nice to meet you. Please like and subscribe. Also, a reminder, don't forget to check out the merch store because we have a lot of great Tennis Gambling Podcast merch on the merch store. We have sweatshirts, we have regular t-shirts, a lot of high-quality t-shirts that are available for you to potentially buy. So check out the merch store if you do want to support the show. Now, to get into the actual recap of the round of 32, going to start off with the actual lock and dog picks. Starting off with the lock, overall went well. Had Zhang team total over 11.5 at minus 150 against Shelton. Never in doubt, he killed Shelton. A couple ways to get there. Either it was going to be a marathon or Zhang was going to win. And if Zhang did win, it was an automatic win for the team total, 11.5. Got there as he ended up winning 6-2, 6-4. Really just curb stomped him. There's some type of belief that since Shelton won a title on Houston clay, which means really nothing because it's basically artificial garbage clay, that Shelton is allegedly now good on clay as a surface, and he's really not. And Zhang's better than him on the surface, and he looked very good as he ended up winning in straight sets, so that worked out well. Unfortunately, Dog did not get there, as we had the over 2.5 sets in the Sarundalo and Kashanov match at plus 130. Did not get there as Kashanov killed him, and he won in straight sets. But either way, decent episode. Got most of the leans right, which feels good. But either way, Pointers did split the lock and dog picks. Also, a reminder, though, before we fully recap the round of 32, want to remind everybody that the WNBA season is starting on Tuesday, and we have a WNBA podcast, a show that I'm actually on with Terrell. We actually recorded the episode for the Tuesday and Wednesday games about an hour ago. So if you want to check that out on YouTube, you can find that at the NBA Gambling Podcast YouTube channel. Either way, though, point is it's a good way to watch hoops while actually making money while doing so. But you get to get every podcast from the network on the SGPN network feed. So regardless of the actual podcast, we upload every individual show for pretty much every single show on the network to the, I'd say the main hub as well, which is the SGPN network feed. So that's definitely an easier way to consume all the podcasts from the network. But don't forget to check out the WNBA show because the season starts up and we should be able to look for another profitable year in the WNBA. Either way, though, time to get into the round of 32 preview, or recap, I mean. So starting off with the matches on Sunday, Montero beat Kekmanovic in a marathon, went to a final set breaker. Thought Montero would win in a marathon. He did. Borges beat Pizarro in 3. Pizarro kept going to final set breakers, but he finally lost one as Borges ended up winning 4-6, 7-6, 7-6. Solid run by Pizarro. It was a dream run, and unfortunately, it did end just a bit short. Kashanov beat Sarundalo. I mentioned that before. Dimitrov beat Otmane in straight sets. And then you had the shocker of the entire tournament, which was Djokovic getting his ass kicked by Tabilo. Mentioned Tabilo plus the 5.5 games. I did not think he'd win a set or the match, but Djokovic really did not look great to start off with against Moutet. And we know Moutet's a head case and he can't serve. And his phone alarm went off in the middle of the match. But the point is, Tabilo is a solid player, and we have backed him a couple of times on this podcast, and he's come through. He's had a very good year, and he was able to showcase his good serving. Djokovic seemed a bit out of sorts in his second match back from the long layoff, and Tabilo beat him 6-2, 6-3. Absolute destruction. But props to Tabilo for pulling off the upset in very convincing fashion. As for Djokovic, we're not used to seeing him in the middle of May with no titles, but here we are, so we'll see how he does in the French Open. But the point is, Tabilo pulled off the upset there. Fritz beat Korda in straight sets. Thought Fritz would win. Thought it would be more competitive, but either way, Fritz got the job done. Zverev beat Darderi in straight sets. Kind of saw that coming, but it was competitive for the first set, and then Darderi ended up losing 6-2 in the final set. You had Zhang beating Shelton. We called that one to a T. For the lock. Moving on, you had de Minaur taking on Felix, and it was a competitive match. I thought Felix was alive to win it. I thought he actually would win it. He won the first set, then he lost the next two, but if you had the over, or you had any type of really just live betting overs or live betting Deminaire, you did well for yourself. But Felix was competitive. He just fell a little bit short. Tsitsipas beat Nori. Good win there, 6-2, 7-6. Muller beat Rublev, which was the upset on Monday. Rublev ended up winning a title last week, and then he struggled a bit in this event. He barely beat Giron, and then he ended up losing to Muller. Muller's a very weird player to predict because it feels like he's underwhelming most of the time, but he'll have like one or two, I'd say, good runs every, I don't know, like month or two, where he just comes out of nowhere and he makes a deep run. But Muller ended up beating Rublev, pulled off a pretty sizable upset there, as he was around plus 400 to win the match. Paul beat Kepfer, not a total shock there. Jari beat Napolitano in 3, pretty standard Jari marathon match, but point is he got the job done in 3. We thought Hurkacz would beat Etcheverry. The serve looked really good against Nadal. We thought that would look sharp once again against Etcheverry, and he did, as he ended up winning that one 7-6, 6-2. We ended up calling a marathon win by Medvedev against Medjedovic. I like Medjedovic a lot, but I thought eventually Medvedev would wear him down, and he did, as the match went to 3 sets. Very fun. Just simply put, I think Medjedovic is a really solid young player who has a shot to really crack the top 30. I think he's that talented, but Medvedev was able to outlast him. He was up a break in the 3rd set, gave it back, but then broke again and was able to win 7-5 in the 3rd. And you had Baez against Rune, where we did have Rune to win the event, but we did pick a marathon, as we thought that Rune would win in 3. Close. We did get the 3 sets, but unfortunately you ended up seeing Rune lose as Baez pulled off the upset there. Not a big upset, but Baez was technically in the, I think he was in the 150 range, give or take. But point is, not many insane shockers, but you had a couple. Djokovic, obviously, on Sunday, and then Rublev on Monday. Anyway, that's going to do it for the actual recap of the round of 32. Before we get into the actual round of 16, do want to remind you once again that we are brought to you by NYRA. Bet the second jewel of the Triple Crown with NYRA Bets, which is the Preakness if you are not familiar with horse racing. Sign up today for a $200 deposit bonus with promo code SGPN200. Join now to claim your $200 deposit bonus just in time for the Preakness at nyrabets.com/SGPN200. Get ready for nonstop action with NYRA Bets evening promotions. They bet $50 each on Belmont at the Big A and any track with the first post at 6 p.m. Eastern on Friday for a $10 bonus, win or lose. Fun fact, I was actually at the Aqueduct watching the Kentucky Derby. Not really related to the ad read, but felt like sharing. Need more? Earn a $15 bonus, win or lose, when you bet at least $75 each on Belmont at the Big A and Monmouth Park. Visit nyrabets.com to opt in. That's not all, though. Score big with a 20% bonus on your ticket winnings by hitting an exacta on any or all races at Belmont at the Big A on Sunday. Feed your competitive edge with live money handicapping contests nearly every week. Enter the Friday feeder contest to earn your entry into the next $300 contest, plus win cash prizes and seats into next week's contest at the NYRA Bets Saturday contest. Registration closes before the Belmont at the Big A's 3rd race post time on the day of each contest. So get in and get your bonuses at nyrabets/SGPN, as nyrabets.com/SGPN200. We're also brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. The NBA playoffs are here, and our sponsor, Underdog Fantasy, wants to make it a lot more interesting. Underdog Fantasy is the easiest place to play fantasy sports. Playing their pick'em game is as simple as selecting higher or lower on player stats like points, rebounds, assists, and so much more. If you want a pretty solid entry that I've been taking for the last week and change, Al Horford lower on PRA. He's gone lower than 19.5 in 12 straight games. So that's worked out quite well for me in my entries. Make entries of all basketball or mix and match across your favorite sports. You win up 20 times your money, and it is a ton of fun. You can also get access to Underdog in a lot of states, available in 30-plus states, including California, Texas, and even Canada. They also have a lot of great options for tennis. They have double faults, breaks of serve. They have really anything you think of. So the point is, if you do want some extra, I'd say, potential motivation to watch some tennis matches, then you might want to consider Underdog to find something that jumps out to you, either for aces, double faults, or breaks of serve. And a reminder that Underdog does have a ton of fun promotions, bonus cash airdrops, specials, giveaways, and more through the NBA playoffs. So make sure to follow at Underdog Picks. That's at Underdog Picks on Twitter. Keep an eye out. Underdog's available in 30-plus states, including California, Texas, and Canada. They also just launched Champions, their player versus player format in Florida. Sign up with promo code SGPN to claim your special pick and a first-time deposit bonus up to $250 in bonus cash. Underdog Fantasy, promo code SGPN. Welcome back, everyone, to the Tennis Gambling Podcast. Just finished recapping the round of 32. Now it's time to move into the actual round of 16 matches. We're going to skip some, mostly because we have a couple prepared for the end of the show. So starting off With the first match on the slate, you have Kashanov as a favorite against Tabilo at around 5 a.m. Eastern Time. Kashanov's minus 205, Tabilo's plus 175. Kashanov minus 2.5 games, and you have Tabilo plus 2.5 games. The over-under for games at 22.5. Kashanov to win in straight sets is plus 125. Tabilo to win a set is minus 155. Over 2.5 sets is plus 130. So we saw Tabilo dominate against Djokovic, and he looked good against Hoffman in the first match here. As for Kashanov, he's been solid too, as he was able to win comfortably against Rundlo in a match that I thought would be competitive. I do think, obviously, Kashanov's a better player, but Tabilo is solid on clay. I think this match could be interesting. Kashanov also beat Shevchenko in straight sets, who's really not that good of a clay player. But Tabilo has been solid. Won a clay title in France in a challenger event about a week prior, then parlayed that into wins against Hoffman and Djokovic in straight sets. For this one, I think Kashanov's going to win. Do I think he's going to dominate? No. Now, you could argue that based on just overall, I'd say, trends that I've noticed in the past, after a player gets his signature win, the biggest win of his career, usually fade the guy in his next match, and he tends to struggle. And we just saw Tabilo beat Djokovic, so I'm wondering if he's going to have an emotional letdown in the spot. Maybe, maybe not. I think that Tabilo to win a set at minus 155 is actually kind of appealing. I know that it's a bit juicy, but the argument is if he is good enough to showcase his, I'd say, prowess on clay, and Kashanov, we know, can be a bit streaky at times. I think Tabilo can potentially win a set if his serve is on point. So I think that he's going to potentially force 3. I don't mind the over 2.5 sets at plus 130. Point is, I do think Kashanov's going to win. I don't see much value in him at this current price, though. So I'll lean to the over 22.5 games, and I will lean to the over 2.5 sets as well at plus 130. Don't mind Tabilo minus 155 to win a set, but I think the other two options are better from a price perspective. Moving on to the next match. Going to look at a matchup between, sorry, just pulling it up, a matchup between Zhang and Montero, which should be a bit of a coin flip because we are not exactly, I'd say, I would put it this way: we're a bit surprised that you're looking at these two guys being at this point in the tournament. Either way, the point is you're looking at Montero being a favorite, as Montero is around minus 140. Zhang is around plus 120. Minus 1.5 games for Montero, plus 1.5 for Zhang. The over-under for games is 23. The over 2.5 sets is a plus 125. Now, both players have been solid. Once again, a bit shocking that both guys are actually here at this point. You're looking at no head-to-head history between them. Montero did end up going through qualifying in straight sets, ended up beating Monfils in straight sets, beat Thompson in straight sets, and beat Kekmanovic in straight sets. You're looking at Zhang, though. He's been solid. Beat Galan in straight sets, beat Manarino in straight sets, and beat Shelton in straight sets. This match really screams war to me. Now, I would probably link to Montero, who's been in very good form recently, including beating Tsitsipas in the previous event in Madrid. But I think looking at this overall matchup, I think you're looking at what should be a very, very up and down match for both players. Zhang and Montero can be a bit streaky, but I think Montero is a bit more reliable on clay. So I think with that being the case, I'm going to lean to him at minus 140. I don't mind the over 2.5 sets. Maybe a plus 125 does seem a bit cheap. So shop around. I usually don't play it if it's below 130. So that's kind of my general rule for over 2.5 set wagers. But I'll link to the over in this one, and I'll link to the favorite. I just think Montero is a bit more solid on clay, and he's in better form, in my opinion. So I am going to go with Montero to get the job done here at minus 140. Moving on to the next match, you have Jari against Mueller. So for this one, you have a pretty interesting one because Jari is about minus 200, give or take, and you're looking at Mueller, who's on a Cinderella run. In fact, if you actually shop around, Jari is as low as minus 178. Mueller's around plus 158. The over-under is set at 22.5 games. For game spread, Jari minus 2.5, Mueller plus 2.5. And for the set wagering, over 2.5 sets is plus 135. Mueller to win a set is minus 170. Jari to win in straight sets is plus 140. Now, they faced off one time in their careers, faced off in a challenger event on clay in 2022. Jari did win 7-5, 6-4. Mueller, though, has been in solid form so far in this event, as he has gone on a bit of a dream run. Ended up beating a couple of guys in qualifying, beat Nava in 3, beat Albert in straight sets. Then he beat Fuchsovics in 3, beat Fies in straight sets, and beat Rublev in 3 sets. Jari has been fine. Beat Arnaldi in straight sets with a tiebreaker at the end, and beat Napolitano in the 3 sets in, the match on Monday. Now, Napolitano is a relative unknown. Ended up beating 2 Italians, though, so he has had to deal with some hostile environments with the crowd. I do think Mueller can make this interesting. Jari's a guy that I think is a head case, naturally, and looking at his unforced error issues in the past, I think Moore can keep the ball in play enough to force Jari to actually hit the ball past him, and I do think because of that, you might see some up and down play from Jari. Moore, though, when he's in form, is actually a solid clay player, and I think that he might be able to actually pull off the upset. Am I picking him to do so? Probably not, but I don't mind the over 2.5 sets once again at plus 135. Jari is a very streaky guy, and I think that you're looking at a player who will potentially struggle to maintain his composure in some big spots. He has gone to 3 sets in two of the last 3 matches. One exception was an 8-6 tiebreaker in a set against Arnaldi. So that could have gone to 3, ended up not doing so. Moore, though, has gone to a third set in just pulling up the numbers here. In 3 of the 5 matches here and 4 of his last 6 matches as a whole. So the point is Moore's been involved in a lot of 3-setters. Jari's been involved in a couple. And I do think that playstyle-wise, Moore can force a couple long rallies that will force Jari into hitting the ball past him, and you might see some unforced errors. So I'm going to go with Moore plus the games, but I'm going to lean to the over here. I just see a longer match. Give me the games and give me the over 2.5 sets at plus 135. Moving on to the next matchup, you have Hurkacz against Baez. Actually, no, we're going to skip that one. We have Zverev going up against Borges. For this one, Zverev is a big favorite. Zverev is around like minus 700. Borges is around plus 500. Spread is 4.5 games for Zverev, and you're looking at Borges plus 4.5. The over-under set at 21.5. Set wagering, Zverev in straight sets is minus 160. Borges to win a set is plus 130. Over 2.5 sets is plus 190. Now, Borges is not really known for being a great clay player. We did back him as a lock earlier in the tournament because we took him first set against Bublik. He's been involved in a couple marathons, though. Beat Martinez in 3, beat Bublik in straight sets, and beat Pizarro in 3 sets. However, that was on the 12th, and this is on the 14th. So he does have a day off in between. So fatigue should not really be an issue for Borges here. But Zverev has been very comfortable, ended up beating Darderi in straight sets, solid clay player, and he killed Vukic with a bagel in the first set before winning 6-4 in the second. Zverev should win. The question is, do I think Borges can hang around? Maybe. I think he can hang around for a set, but I don't think he's going to win a set. The question is, do I think he can cover 4.5? Probably not. I think it's going to be close. I think he might win. I think he might lose a set 6-4. But I can really see like a 6-4, 6-4, 6-3, or like a 6-4, 6-2, something like that. So I think I'm going to lean to Zverev, but he's kind of been a thorn in my side recently. So I'm not going to actually bet the match, but I'll lean to Zverev to get the job done. Maybe the under, if you want to go for games at 22.5 at minus 155. That line feels too high. You can maybe find 21.5. I'm mentioning 6-4, 6-3, give or take. Borges has been involved in a couple of breakers, but Zverev is easily the best player that he's faced in this event. So I think that you're looking at a step up of competition. Borges might struggle beating Pizarro and beating Bublik, and that really doesn't mean much to me on clay. Martinez is a solid clay player, but mostly a challenger level guy who has had some good showings, made the final in Astoral on clay this year. So a good win there. That was a marathon, but still a step up in competition. Give me Zverev, and I am going to link to the under 22.5 games there at minus 155. Moving on to the last match we're going to talk about. I don't have any lines on the Medvedev-Paul match for some reason, so we're going to skip that, and we're going to talk about Tsitsipas against de Minaur, which is known as one of the more lopsided head-to-head histories that we have on tour. So Tsitsipas is a massive favorite. Tsitsipas is around, just trying to find the odds here. He's around minus 270, give or take. You're looking at de Minaur being around plus 220. For the actual head-to-head, Tsitsipas is up 12-2. 12-2. However, de Minaur did win the last meeting. Beat him in Acapulco in 3 in the middle of February. So, yeah, maybe de Minaur has flipped the script. Just kidding. I mean, I'm not going to overreact to one loss. He's lost 12 of the 14 meetings. I'm not sure de Minaur's ever beat him on clay. I don't think he has. No, he's 0-2 on clay against Tsitsipas. So I think Tsitsipas wins. The question is, do I pick him to win in straight sets? I don't really know. The game spread's massive, though. It's around 4. So they're expecting him to kill de Minaur. De Minaur to war against Felix on Monday. So maybe fatigue will be an issue. The over-under for games is set at 22.5 games, by the way. The set wagering, Tsitsipas minus 1.5 sets is a plus 105. And de Minaur to win a set is minus 135. Over 2.5 sets is plus 155. It's a pretty interesting matchup because Tsitsipas has been so good in the head-to-head that I kind of have to take him. He struggled against Struff in the first round, but Struff's been in good form, and he beat Norrie in straight sets. De Minaur's been solid, though. and he was able to beat Baena in straight sets and then beat Felix in 3. Plus 105, though, for a guy that's 12-2 in the head-to-head to win in straight sets is pretty appealing at the price. I'm probably not going to bet it because Tsitsipas I do think is a head case, and I think that he is definitely taken, I'd say, a step back to some degree compared to his form when he won a title in Monte Carlo and then made the final in Barcelona. But I do think he's still a solid clay player. You might see a competitive matchup. Maybe it goes 3. But I think for the sake of value, getting a guy that's 12-2 in the head-to-head who's won both clay meetings in straight sets, I think getting him in straight sets at plus 105 is a pretty interesting deal. So I am going to take that as a result. Anyway, that's going to do it for the actual matches for the round of 16. Now we're getting into the actual lock and dog picks. Before continuing that, do want to remind you once again that we are brought to you by Game Time. I don't know about all of you, but I personally love attending sporting events, and used to be very difficult to actually find a ticketing platform that I could trust. But that changed once I found Game Time, because Game Time is now an authorized ticket marketplace of Major League Baseball, which makes getting tickets even faster and easier. I love attending Yankee games, so definitely a good way for me to attend games to see Soto play, for example. But the point is, it is definitely a great platform because they also have great last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seats, and their lowest price guarantee. Means that Game Time will take the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets. So my favorite personal feature of the Game Time app is definitely the images of seat views, which allows you to see the exact view you would be getting if you ended up purchasing that said ticket. So that way, you'll never have an issue when it comes to having a pole in front of you or potentially looking at an obstructed view, because you can see what a view you'd be getting exactly on the platform, which I think is pretty cool. Either way, though, the point is that I would love to attend a Yankee game, maybe a Yankee Red Sox game at some point. Been a while since I've gone to one of those, but that's kind of what I'm hoping for, going to a nice Yankee game, and I'll probably end up going with maybe a couple friends, so Game Time can make that very easy for me. But either way, point is a reminder that they have a lot of great overall features on the app, and it's very easy to buy baseball tickets regardless of what team you root for. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code CFBX for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code CFBX for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. Welcome back, everyone, to the Tennis Gambling Podcast. Just finished previewing the round of 16. Now it's time to get into the actual lock and dog picks for the show. Starting off with the lock, I am going to go to one of the early matches that we skipped. I am going to go to the Dimitrov and Fritz match. For this one, he was in the doghouse for about a year on this podcast. Then he became good again, and we took him out. Give me Dimitrov plus 2.5 games at minus 145. Simply put, I think it's going to be a close matchup between him and Fritz, and I think that you're looking at both guys being in solid form. I acknowledge Fritz has been in really good form for the last couple clay events, but Dimitrov has variety, and he's been in great form in 2024 as a whole. I think this line's a bit disrespectful. I think Fritz can win this match, but I think it's going to be competitive. And with that being the case, I think 2.5 games is pretty generous at minus 145. They faced off 3 times in the head-to-head. I will admit one of the meetings was not on ATP level, and it was only one set being played, but Dimitrov did win that set, if that means anything. But the 2 full matches on the ATP Tour, Dimitrov has covered the spread in each of them, including both meetings on clay. I believe Fritz won one of them, which I think involved 2 tiebreaks, and Dimitrov won the other one in 3 sets. But Dimitrov is currently 2-0 with the spread against Fritz on clay. So with that being the case, I think he can hang in there. Not saying he's going to officially win. I probably would pick him to win at this price, but I think that he's definitely live to keep this match competitive, and I think this match might go to 3 sets. So maybe we get burned on one lopsided set in favor of Fritz. On the other hand, maybe get a breaker in there, maybe 2 breakers in there, and suddenly you're in decent shape to cover this. But I think Dimitrov has the game to really keep Fritz off balance, and I could see a lot of long rallies here. So give me Dimitrov plus 2.5 games to keep this match competitive at minus 145 against Fritz as my lock. For my dog, I am going to go to the Hurkacz and Baez match, and I am going to go with Hurkacz to win in straight sets at plus 140. Hurkacz has been rolling. He has not dropped a set in this tournament yet. And you're looking at his clay form this season, won a clay title, his first ATP clay title. He's been solid on clay, simply put. And you're looking at a guy who is facing off against an opponent who had a 3-set marathon against Rune, which was a physical match because there were a lot of long rallies. And Baez, the main reason why I'm going to take Hurkacz here, his serve has been very effective in this event. And Baez, we know, is extremely short. Baez is very good on clay. He's also 5'7". So I'm questioning how effective his returning is going to be when Hurkacz is just launching 130-mile-per-hour bombs throughout the entire match. So I can see Hurkacz actually having a lot of easy holds in this matchup, and Bai, as we know, is not a great server because of his short stature. So with that being the case, I can definitely see Hurkacz getting a break in each of these two sets. I'm not sure Bai is going to break Hurkacz here. He probably will at least once, just based on first serve percentage. Maybe Hurkacz faults a lot in one game and Baez can steal it. The point is, though, Hurkacz has been better in his rally tolerance, and he's also still the best server on tour. So with that being the case, I do think he'll get a couple of easy holds. I think that Baez will struggle to maintain, I'd say, holding his serve. And I think you're going to be able to see Hurkacz win this one in straight sets. Maybe a breaker in there, but I think Hurkacz gets the job done. And plus 140 is a good price. So I am going to go with that as my dog. So once again, my picks for the show, the lock's going to be on Dimitrov plus 2.5 games at minus 145. My dog's going to be on Hurkacz winning straight sets at plus 140. That's going to wrap it up for this episode. Find me on Twitter once again at Reichel Radio. Find me on the NBA show. Find me on the NFL show. Find me on the MLB show. And a reminder, and a WNBA show is officially here for the season. Had an episode for the off season, 2 episodes actually, had win totals and had the title predictions as well as MVP and Rookie of the Year bets. Point is, though, we did actual game previews for the start of the season, which is going to be taking place on Tuesday. So check out the WNBA show, check out all the other podcasts, and until next time, good luck to all of you and all of your bets. Bye, everyone.